What's good, Gacha gang? Kawaii50 back with another FGO video, here to talk about another servant that recently got buffed on JP, but who really, well, this video has been long overdue. I'm talking about the protagonist of the Ramayana himself, the brilliant man voiced by Miyuki Sawashiro. That's right, it is Rama himself. Bet you haven't seen this guy for a while, not since America maybe. We are going to be going over all of his command codes, his craft essences, his allies, everything you need to make the King of Kosala one of the forefront members of your team. Perhaps even maybe your strongest saber. If this video helps you out, be sure to go ahead, like, and subscribe. Of course, we got to kick this off by looking at Rama's stats. Rama has a quick Arts Buster deck and a single target Buster type Noble Phantasm. So even at base from his deck, he is designed to put out some damage. Rama's max HP of 11,993 is pretty alright considering he is a 4-star servant. But what's more impressive is his max attack at 9,854. This is a pretty solid amount of attack for a 4-star servant, and it's going to be easily represented when you have him dealing his normal attacks, even without crits. If you're audacious enough to Grail Rama, you are going to be getting an 11,931 attack, which means this saber is probably going to be a single target destroyer. NP per hit is solid at a 0.84%, unfortunately only 2 hits on his arts cards and the single quick card make it so he's going to have a little bit of a rough time generating Noble Phantasm. But on average when it comes to crits, for example, his star absorption is pretty normal, so you'll see some stars going towards Rama. Rama's first skill is his most important one, Blessing of Martial Arts Rank A. This gives him a 300 to 500% increase to his Star Gather rate, and increases his critical strength by a whopping 50 to 100%. When this is maxed out, it is going to be on a very short 4-turn cooldown, just enough time for your deck to reset. So I highly recommend maxing this skill first to maximize Rama's damage, and through crits also maximize his Noble Phantasm gain and star drop rate, which are pretty low otherwise. Rama's second skill is the ever-solid Charisma Rank B. This increases the attack of all allies by 9 to 18% for 3 turns. This is unfortunately Rama's main damaging skill other than his Star Gather, so don't expect anything like a Buster card effectiveness up out of his skills. You're going to want to go ahead and max this skill second. And Rama's final skill is the Curse of Separation Rank A. This is a 1000 HP Guts, tied with a 1000 to 3000 HP heal on top of it. This is a pretty decent Guts, not gonna lie. A lot of Guts skills out there are just the Guts and that's it. But this providing the heal on top of it, this was a very formidable Guts skill back in the day when the game first came out, when America first came out. Now, this isn't so much a very powerful Guts skill these days with the way power creep has worked. We've got servants like Kama being the absolute queen of Guts that she is, but it's still a decent enough Guts skill that gives Rama some sorely needed survivability, though not as much as a good invincibility or evade. Now, Rama's upgraded Noble Phantasm is the main reason I made this video, and it is a doozy. I don't think I've seen a single monstrous upgrade to a Noble Phantasm in a very long time. But Rama's upgraded version of Brahmastra is absolutely absurd. The damage is increased to 800 to 1200%, which is an increase from the 600 to 1000% he previously had. So your Rama is basically sitting at NP2 base starting with this upgrade. It still retains its special attack to demonic enemies, and that does not change. What does change, though, are these other bonuses. It also decreases the NP gauge for a single demonic enemy by 1, but more importantly than anything else, we are getting Shades of Karna in here, with this Noble Phantasm reducing Buster resist for a single enemy by 20% for 3 turns. This Noble Phantasm boost has given Rama a massive increase to his damage, not just from the Noble Phantasm himself, but from any Buster Brave chains that may follow the Noble Phantasm, and the following turns from your several allies, or even Rama on later turns. This is a very powerful Noble Phantasm increase for a servant that has really done more than enough to deserve it. Now, when it comes to Rama's allies, he is the earliest example, one of the earliest examples of a Buster Crit servant. So we want to give him allies that are going to go ahead and push him to do more in that regard. Of course, you've got your standard Merlin, that goes without saying, but there are definitely other options available out there. Waver is always a great choice for everyone, but even more so for Rama because of his critical strength increase tied to his first skill. Helena Blavatsky remains a fantastic budget waiver, able to provide Rama with a little bit of NP charge and a full card effectiveness boost on top of that. Pretty much any of your Buster supporter servants are going to be helpful, but there is a slew of other servants that can be very helpful for Rama as well, providing a bunch of different benefits to shore up some of the weaknesses he has both from his kit and from the slow forward march of time that has sort of pushed him to the back seat. And let's go over those now. To start with, for a freebie option, I definitely want to recommend Jason. Even though Rama himself is not an Argonaut, Jason can still provide Rama with a bunch of critical bonuses that help his overall kit. Jason, of course, has a heal paired with a single debuff cleanse. Since Rama doesn't have any sort of debuff cleanse tied to his kit, even being able to get one removed is a huge bonus. The most important skill Jason can provide is Shining in the Lion's Den rank A, which gives Rama a one-time, one-turn evade that he would not have otherwise, while increasing his critical star gather rate. Rama is going to be unable to take full advantage of Jason's third skill, but still a 10 to 20% attack increase. That is better than Rama's single charisma increase if you've got that maxed out, and that is on a 1-star servant skill, so that's going to be very easy to level up. With Jason being a Saber on top of that, you're probably taking Rama to fight enemies that are weak against Saber class enemies. It just seems like a very good match. With Rama being one of Brynhilde's beloved, he is able to take full advantage of Summer Brynhilde's Summertime Lovers rank EX skill. This is going to provide Rama with a 60% increase total to both his Arts card and Buster card effectiveness. Overall, really helping out his damage. On top of that, Brynhilde is able to provide 5 to 10 critical stars each turn with her Midsummer Wisdom rank B skill. Since Rama is a Buster Crit servant who has some problems with star generation, this is an instance where a Berserker can really help him out. So I'm sure a lot of people on NA are wondering right now, hey, we've still got Rama here, and we don't have either of these two servants you've already recommended, Justin. Who can you recommend to us that we aren't going to have to wait for? Well, I'd like to recommend Marie Antoinette Castor, who can be a fantastic pairing for Rama. Her Beach Flower rank A+ skill will increase his attack as well as his critical star drop rate. And for a servant with one quick card with a relatively low hit count, that is going to help him out a lot. On top of that, her Sparkling Sunflower rank A skill, much like Brynhilde's second skill, provides a 5 to 10 star region every single turn for 3 turns. So you go ahead and pair that with, if you have it, a max limit broken 2030, that is going to be 20 crit stars a turn for 3 turns, which Rama is just going to gobble up and use to deal critical damage. Queen Himiko, of course, despite her ruler class, has proven to be one of the most fantastic Buster Crit supporters in the entire game, and she is also able to provide some extra bonuses that help Rama as well. Of course, the main draw from her is, to start with, Priestess's Charisma, which will increase Rama's attack and grant 8 critical stars per turn for 3 turns for all allies. More importantly than that, her Noble Phantasm increases the Buster card effectiveness for all allies, increases the critical strength of all allies, and increases the NP overcharge level for all allies by 2. So if you're bringing along Rama to fight some demons, this is going to increase his overall demonic damage that is tied to his overcharge. And Queen Himiko is actually going to be able to help Rama out with dealing the extra damage to demonic enemies, thanks to her Keto skill, increasing her Buster card effectiveness and giving her a 30 to 50% boosted damage dealt to those demonic enemies. And finally, I definitely like to recommend Artoria Pendragon Ruler. Ruler Artoria Pendragon has a special skill called Royal Card, and when it is upgraded, she's able to make it so command cards for a selected ally are not going to be drawn. So that overall is going to help her manipulate the deck in Rama's favor. She can also increase Rama's critical strength by 30 to 50% and increase his NP gain for one turn by 20 to 30%. With Artoria on the field, you're going to be able to have a way to manipulate your deck in a critical moment and hopefully increase Rama's overall damage. When selecting craft essences for Rama, you want to prioritize Buster Card effectiveness, critical strength, NP strength, and starting NP gauge. All four of these different values are going to help Rama when it comes to dealing damage, dealing critical damage, using his Noble Phantasm effectively when it comes to the starting NP gauge, using it as quick as possible, and of course dealing the maximum amount of damage with his Noble Phantasm. So start with our freebie option is definitely going to be Joint Recital, which increases Buster Card effectiveness and critical damage. This is basically a freebie version of Victor of the Moon, and in a lot of cases, if you don't have it maxed out, a better form of Victor of the Moon. Something to think about. Of course, I also want to recommend Aerial Drive as a freebie option. This grants Buster Card effectiveness, NP strength, and a 50% starting NP gauge if you have this max limit broken. Partake with the King can also be an excellent option for Rama, offering Buster Card effectiveness and a starting NP gauge. If you've got this max limit broken, that's a starting 60% NP gauge, so two Merlins together are going to be able to get Rama to max NP charge on turn 1. And I would also definitely like to recommend for Rama Beyond a Wish, and this is a craft essence that might have escaped some players' notice. This came out during the Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel Premier Commemorative campaign on JP, and this increases the servant's critical star gather rate by 400 to 600% and increases their Buster Card effectiveness by 15%. This is going to effectively make it so Rama has his first skill up all the time, at least in regards to Stargather. For a servant that is completely designed around using crits to maximize their damage and Noble Phantasm gain, this craft essence can be a huge boon for Rama. When it comes to Rama's command codes, I'm not really comfortable drawing stars to his arts and quick cards in order to help him overall increasing the gain off of them, mainly because his hit counts on those cards are so low. So instead, let's just take advantage of Rama's heavy attack power for a 4-star servant and maximize the damage he's able to deal and the damage he is able to deal to the demonic enemies. So when it comes to Rama's Buster cards, let's go full crit damage. Command Seal of a Cardinal-Minded Retainer is completely designed for increasing crit damage on Buster cards, as is its higher rarity, stronger option, Mistress of the Heavens. For Rama's other cards, we can, of course, focus on dealing extra damage to demonic enemies. Code Evil is going to be your freebie option in this regard, increasing damage against demonic enemies by 5%, but if you're willing to expend a 5-star command code on Rama, Lady in Waiting of Risteria is basically the same thing, but increases the damage by 20% on the engraved card. But as always with any sort of servant that is designed for single target fights, boss killers, you might want something that is designed to pull debuffs off of them while they are attacking. So definitely look into White Vessel's Command Seal as well if you're willing to get rid of that command code and use that on Rama. That can be a great way to provide him with an additional debuff cleanse, which he sorely lacks. Overall, gang, Rama is a servant that was really powerful when he first came out, but his overall effectiveness ended up sort of diminishing with the passage of time, as of course power creep ended up sneaking into the game, and we ended up getting a bunch of servants like, say, Lancelot, who showed up very quickly, like Yagyu Munenori, a bunch of sabers out there that just completely and utterly overshined Rama. Even in the Buster Crit department, I mean, we've got so many Buster Crit servants out there, you can name it, that the King of Kosala may have, more likely than not, ended up getting benched by you. But this Noble Phantasm upgrade that Rama has gotten has provided him with not only a stronger push into his niche of being a demonic slayer, but has also overall increased his damage exponentially thanks to the Buster Resist down it has managed to start to apply. Do I think, for example, that Rama might even be better than Lancelot right now? Well, no, personally I don't. However, Rama is at least a far stronger and far more viable option for the players out there who really like to play around with the Buster Crit teams. If you were worried about investing in Rama for the long run, I really think this Noble Phantasm upgrade has proven that you can definitely make that investment and have something very powerful to look forward to. Rama has gone from bottom of the barrel to worth. But of course, I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts about Rama down in the comment section below. Let me know if there are any other allies, craft essences, or command codes you would throw on him. And you know what, for a little bonus question, let me know who you would rather have in Fate Grand Order Mobile. Would you rather have Rama, or would you rather have his beloved Sita, who showed up as an arcade exclusive? I think this will be a very interesting question for the comments. Speaking of which, if you want to talk more about FGO, my Discord is always open. Big thank you to all of the Patreons who help to continually push me to get out these videos and make all of this information and hopefully all this entertainment possible for you. And of course, we are always streaming on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Kawaii50, hoping you all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you all in the next video.